Hey you, how's it going? My name is Ruby Price and you are listening to episode 44 of Fresh from the Scene. Before we get started, if you do enjoy this podcast, please do something about it. Share the podcast on socials, review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, or rate the podcast on Spotify. And if you're listening on a platform you aren't yet subscribed on, please do help me out with a like and a subscribe. Plus, you can always support me on Patreon as an extra incentive. I don't know if the incentive is for you or for me, but we'll figure that out together. So, hello consumer. Is this podcast all you've ever wanted? Or has it been so long that you've forgotten? Is it simply okay? Or does listening bring on the Great Depression for this mind of yours? Well, it's been half a decade uneventful, but I went to hell and back to prepare for my very special guest. No one knows him like John Hughes did. It's Patty Walters from As It Is on episode 44 of Fresh from the Scene.
You're listening to Fresh from the Scene with your host, Ruby Price.
Welcome to Fresh from the Scene. Today's guest is the one and only Patty Walters from As It Is. How are you doing, Patty?
I'm really good. How are you today, Ruby?
Really good. We're doing that thing that podcasts do where they pretend they've not been speaking to each other for the last few minutes.
I know. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I can't believe this is my first time on your show. I've listened to your show, the episodes with or without current members of As It Is. But yeah, I dig it. I'm a fan. It's really cool to be on here. But yeah, sort of in rehearsing this is the thing that I do. I'm like, okay, I'm running it. I'm getting prepared and stuff. And I was gonna be like, oh, it's great to be back on the show. And it's like, no, we are just so familiar, Ruby, you and I. That was like, I just imagined. Mandela affected myself where I'm like, of course I've been on this fucking show. But no, it's so cool to be on here. Big fan of it. So yeah, this is exciting.
Very exciting for me too. Like, you know, you are now the third As It Is Infinity Stone in my gauntlet as I've been approaching. As you alluded to, I've had
Right.
Ben on and I've had Ali on, and now I just need the other Patrick, Mr. Foley.
Elusive Foley. Yeah. I bet he'd be real excited to come on and talk about drumming and EDM and stuff. So I think you'll make it happen. You'll be too powerful for any of us to stop in the future. It's gonna happen.
Exactly. It won't be fresh from the scene. It'll be, you know, I am the scene.
Scene queen.
Scene queen. That, you know, I think that's already taken as
That
a
might
brand
already
and
be
IP.
taken. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll workshop it. All right.
We'll workshop it. But to start off, you know, in your own words, how do you describe As It Is to someone who's never heard of you?
It's a great question because, you know, music hasn't like been at the forefront of my life quite recently, actually. The music being back is more of a new thing, weirdly. So I was telling somebody about the band today where I described this as rocky punk music and the lyrics are really sad, which, you know, is true. It's not necessarily the most sort of like expert level, you know, you love the scene sort of stuff. It's very much like As It Is dictionary definition for normies, right? But, you know, your punky rock music, you might picture like a Green Day or a Blink or something, and the lyrics are sad, right? So, you know, that one isn't bad or whatever. But yeah, we're like a pop punky emo-y band and stuff, and we formed in 2012 and weren't as active until we were all of a sudden and re-recorded our debut record, which is in the process of coming out. We're dropping a new song tomorrow, so it's been a real exciting time to be in As It Is.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you've just alluded to as well, you know, the comeback. What was kind of like in the mindset as you were obviously announcing it?
It's felt and it seemed pretty certain for me that I was exiting the music industry, if not forever, then for a while, because that's where my life had been at, and I didn't dislike that. And then, you know, there were all these sort of attempts and opportunities for me and the guys to sort of get together, collaborate, or catch up and stuff like this until April or May of last year, when Ben and I just sort of, I don't know, I don't know what the single sort of catalyst was, but it was just the right time, which it hadn't been for years. And we were having dinner with our manager, Leander, who started managing the band in 2014, basically from Can't Save Myself onwards and throughout most of the band's career. And we just met up with him in a Wagamama's ahead of seeing his one of his new bands, Split Chain, at Green Door Store open for Gel. And he hadn't been managing for years. He'd stepped away from management and was doing A&R for a record label. So we were like, okay, yeah, we want to do the band thing again, but we have no idea who's gonna manage the project until, yeah, we just were getting dinner with Leander, and he just turned to us and went, you know what I'm doing? I'm getting back into management. And we were just like, wow, we just didn't expect it, but we were elated, and it was just all of a sudden it was 2014 all over again. And here we are. And yeah, we just quickly started just talking about, well, what's the first thing we do? And then I think Ben's idea was the B-Sides and Rarities project was A Decade Uneventful, is that, or, our earliest songs and releases as a band have never been on streaming or, beyond Bandcamp, but never got a vinyl release. And we have all these demos and B-sides too. And then while we were sort of rolling that out, getting everybody excited, we were in the process of re-recording Never Happy Ever After in full, but with a bunch of guests. Yeah, that was basically summer to winter of last year for me and for all of us. It was a record I produced and mixed, which was new. And here we are. Yeah, so Never Happy X is coming out in April, 2 days away from its 10th birthday. And then we're going to do Slam Dunk a month later. So yeah, that's what last year sort of looked like.
Can you imagine if our, annual revolval, is that a word? No, I don't think that's a word. Like our annual revolution around the sun just coincided perfectly enough that 10 years to the day that came out.
It's wild. It's so cosmic and serendipitous how many things went weirdly and perfectly and poetically right. Is that, Leander first met with us in a Costa Coffee on Bond Street here in Brighton. And Wagamama's is 2 streets away. And we were trying to work out how close to 10 years apart they were. And it's 1 or 2 weeks. And we were just this is crazy. It was really starting to freak us out. And now we're just leaning into it. And it's okay, just the universe is telling us to just roll with this. And yeah, I haven't regretted it for a second. It's been so exciting and fun. And I just feel really alive and excited to work on as it is, which feels great.
Yeah. And how has the response been, from people, obviously, since you've come back? And has it, I don't know if you could have expectations, but did it meet them?
Yeah. Oh, it met them and exceeded them, beyond our wildest dreams, really. Most bands don't get that luxury of just sort of disappearing for a bunch of years, really saying nothing, and just disappearing from people's lives and from the algorithms and stuff. And yeah, just to see that first Instagram reel had 300,000 or 400,000 views or whatever, and that people were still excited and fired up and connected to the band. I know it might sound stupid because lyrics that we've written are tattooed on people, that is a permanent thing. But people's lives change. I'm not listening to the same music I was listening to 10 years ago. Some of it yes, all of it no. Everybody's lives are in such different places, the 4 of us included. And it was just no guarantee. And it just completely blew us away, honestly. Where I was at the Minnesota State Fair in either late August or early September, whenever we posted it. And I was, just so emotional. But I wasn't using data or whatever. So I had to check my phone sporadically or whatever. And every time I checked it, it was just this fucking waterfall of new notifications and people just feeling so excited and emotional, and appreciative and stuff. And yeah, it was mutual. We're so excited. And we are really pleased that so many familiar faces from the past decade are still here and supporting this band. So yeah.
Yeah, and that seems to echo a lot of the bands that I've seen as well, who've recently, at least recently in inverted commas, gotten back together. The Blackout got back together, which is a group I never expected to see performing as a 6-piece on stage again. Kids in Glass Houses, all of the sort of bands from about 10 years ago, all of those kind of sentiments are echoed and stuff across those like sort of stories of these bands are coming back that used to mean so much to people, and all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, this was the thing that made me fall in love with music. This was the thing that got me going to gigs, made me meet my best friends, made me, meet my significant others and all of that. And it's just
Right.
really wholesome to see like from like my perspective, but I imagine on your side of things too, just like seeing those connections back together and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, this is it, is that, sort of we spent years talking about and at times trying to get like a farewell tour together. And, so that we in the band, but also so that the people that loved the band and cared about the band got that closure and got that chance to sort of say goodbye. And that never happened. And that's like for so many reasons, right? But it's beautiful that it didn't, because now, there was no real final explicit goodbye. We just got to sort of creak the door back open, come back, and now nobody's got to say goodbye to anything. We just get to fucking party and like have some fun at Slam Dunk, and who knows what we do with the rest of the year, right? But not just so that we're reunited with the people that supported this band and came to dozens, if not hundreds of As It Is shows, that they're going to be with each other again, right? Like this was a real community. The As It Is fan base is a real community. Like there is love there and there are memories there. There are years there. So it's not wasted on us that like that's huge. And we are so excited for ourselves and for everybody else. It's going to be cool. It's going to be special.
You've already mentioned it slightly, the Decade Uneventful album that came out, the B-sides and rarities,
Yeah.
tracks from the Great Depression that didn't make it to the Great Depression, like
Yeah.
acoustic versions of songs from OK, and also some other fun stuff from there too. The Blenheim Place EPs, acoustic and full,
Yeah.
and two track as well. Are there any more tracks we need to be afraid of that you're about to suddenly drop on us?
Terrified, Ruby. Be terrified. Yeah, yeah. We released the best of what we didn't release at the time. So there's scarier and worse songs still hiding on hard drives somewhere. But yeah, no, it was cool to finally sort of give those songs their flowers and celebrate them and put them up on streaming and stuff. Ben made a joke on a Instagram or TikTok or something. It was like, yeah, like we disappeared. We haven't been a band for a while. You know what's a really good marketing idea? Releasing some of the worst songs you ever wrote as a band. That's a good idea. But thankfully it was received real well. And yeah, so it was cool to finally put those out.
All of a sudden your most played and most recommended songs are just demos and
Fucking January and Pilgrims and some other nonsense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, I can speak for As It Is fans of, we all kind of went a bit nuts when January, all of a sudden was back in the zeitgeist of As It Is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For anyone who's listening that doesn't know, January,
Yeah.
I think I've seen every single As It Is show a request for January, and every
Yeah.
single time, no.
No. Play January is like the come to Brazil for the As It Is fandom. But yeah, it became a real joke and a real meme because I think we've recognized that it's what we collectively have agreed is our worst song or whatever. When we played songs off of Blenheim Place, not so recently, but in like before 2020 came around, we played the final one of the final shows at Sticky Mike's Frog Bar, which was a venue here in Brighton that got knocked down. It's super sad, but like the first 10 or 20 like As It Is shows that we played were there, and at that venue we have amazing memories of playing there with Rome 10 years ago, and seeing some great like local punk bands and stuff. Like that was the scene. It was happening there, and we got to play it, and we played like a bunch of those songs, I think. But anytime we snuck a Blenheim Place song into like a set, it was probably like Often or Upswing. Those were the two that we were sort of less embarrassed about, I guess is how I'd phrase it bluntly. But yeah, January is like the real sort of the meme in the As It Is community. But I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a sucker for bad movies, so Bad As
Yes.
It Is songs, like, would you say that
Yeah.
January would be like, if January was a movie, would it appear on the Cursed Film Club, for
Yeah, it'd be the
example?
worst of the worst. It'd be like The Room. It'd be like the most notable of the Bad As It Is songs for sure. Yeah. I think that's apt.
Never Happy Ever After X, 10 years, lots of, just names, attached to this project. I can see friends like from the industry. I can see, people who would have been an As It Is influencer, but
Mm,
also people who've been influenced by As It Is, for example, as well. Like No Offense, for example, on Can't Save Myself. I can't not mention Kellen Quinn being on Speak Soft,
yeah,
all
right.
of these names. Like, how nice is it for you guys to have, friends around in the music that you're producing and things like that?
It's amazing. It's a really special project. I think the first sort of people that we reached out to were the sort of peers that we spent the most number of years with, and bands like Rome and Trash Boat and Mallory Knox, yours truly to an extent. And then there were these sort of like legacy artists who really inspired the band from Hidden in Plain View and Transit and Sum 41 and Sleeping with Sirens, right? And then there are some sort of new gen bands who we're really excited about and stuff. Bands, yeah, artists like No Offense and Ardeo, who I weren't familiar with, but are fucking killer. And Ray like crushes it on Turn Back to Me, made like a real moment of their feature. So it's really cool. Yeah, you're right. Like there's these three different sort of like tiers or categories of who's featuring. It's like, who did we worship when we started this band? Who did we make friends with along the way? And who, it's difficult to believe, but like cites as it is as an influence like we do, Hidden in Plain View and Transit and stuff, right? So it's really cool for all of those reasons. I never thought there would be an As It Is song where I sing the second verse with my sister, and then Brown Sound from Sum 41 plays guitar on it. It's shreds a solo on it. It's nuts. It's totally crazy. It's a really cool project. And yeah, it was tough to keep it a secret because we were so excited about it last year, but now we finally get to talk about this thing, and really proud of it. It took a lot of work, but yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and produced and mixed by yourself too. And I've seen more sort of producing and mixing coming from you, like as it is of evolved and stuff. There was the whole Great Depression Reimagined
Right.
project, which I think you very much spearheaded from
Yeah.
that production side of things.
Yeah.
How was it producing a whole sort of record?
Well, it's funny because I thought, having done the Great Depression Reimagined, that was 12 tracks. That was one fewer. I'm like, okay, cool. So I can like expect a similar workload or whatever. The thing that made them different, Ruby, is that when I submitted like the four different EPs that made up the Great Depression Reimagined, that was like across nearly an entire year. So I only had to finish three songs at any given time, and call them done, and make the Logic sessions like pretty, and call them finished or whatever. To do that with 11 songs all at the same time with 13 guests was nuts, and way more work than I thought it was gonna be. And it's cool, like I'm really self-critical with this stuff. I'm a real perfectionist with the creative stuff. And there's so many things that I like wished I'd been able to do better, and would have done differently. But like in comparison to what I have done in the past, this is like leaps and bounds better than anything I've like produced or mixed in the past. And I'm really, really proud of it. And I look forward to getting better and being better, at these types of things in the future. But like it's a real thing that I've learned, and it's going to be at like the forefront of everything creative I do and this band does in the future, which is that like trying to be not like a racehorse with its blinders on, like not checking like what comparing myself to everybody who's next to me, just competing with myself. Like everybody is different and better at certain things, and I'm just comparing myself to everybody else all the time. But like when it comes to art, when it comes to music, when it comes to anything creative, I'm just going to be competing with myself from now on. Is this better than the last thing I did? Have I made myself proud with it? equally or more so than the most recent thing I did. And I'm incredibly proud of this. I think it turned out really cool, and yeah, just looking forward to learning more and getting better as well. But for now, this is good.
Just from the one song I've heard so far from it, it does sound, really good. It sounds like, the quality's there that you'd expect to hear from, just kind of like every record. I don't think I'm selling it very well, but,
You sounded great.
just
Yeah, yeah. The Grant Berry was who mastered it. Apart from that, it was recording and mixing, getting oh God, when we got sent Lucas's stems for dial tones, like I just couldn't believe it. He always sounds incredible, but he really just took the track to like a whole new level. So many of the guest artists and features and singers on this record took the track to like a whole new level and made it theirs. We said to each artist, make it yours, like just go nuts. Like some people have written new parts, some people have sung completely different melodies, and just added all of these really cool layers, harmonies, moments. Yeah, some of them are real moments now, and it's hard to sort of listen to the old ones without it because I think it's a really special project. Everybody collaborated and created something real cool.
Yeah, and like the vocal runs as well. I've heard from, is it Michaela?
Michaela, oh
Yeah,
my God.
Michaela.
Yeah.
Incredible, and I can't wait to hear it in what 5 hours, 5.5 hours.
Yeah, at
Um,
midnight. Yeah, she's bananas. Like, just vocally like dances all over the track. It's so cool. Yeah, we've known them for a minute, and yeah, she brought something so cool to Sorry. It's yeah,
when you're gonna re-release a song, like I think there always needs to be that. Why should someone actually want to listen to it and things like that?
right.
Like not just being like, oh yeah, here's the same song again. So the fact that they're bringing something to it, they're making. There's a reason as to why these people are on the tracks and stuff like that. That's really good to hear, and I think is also what's going to help Never Happy Ever After X like be worthy of its own spot within the
For sure.
discography.
Yeah, and a couple of them, we musically made quite different. So Dial Tones is in particular is different to the one from 10 years ago. Really excited for people to hear Drowning Deep in Doubt. We took that one in a different and cool direction. So yeah, Concrete, a little heavier. So yeah, it's cool. We really played with it and switched things up,
Yeah.
and made it its own like unique release and project.
hmm The intro guitars on Dial Tones actually reminded me a lot of like The Poison and Bullet for
Yeah.
My Valentine, like in terms of like tone and
It's very, like post-hardcore, metalcore, emo sort of thing. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
very 2005. Whilst we're throwing it back to 2015.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to be playing Slam Dunk 2025. The first, shows with the lineup of the four of you
Yeah.
since 2018, 2019.
That sounds right. Yeah, it's 2018, and I haven't been on a stage with Ben since 2019. So I'm really really excited for it. It'll be cool.
In the sort of like history of your live shows, what really stands out? Like, are there any sort of, moments that you can pick? What, like, if someone asks you, oh yeah, your favorite gig moment, things like that, like, is there anything that stands out?
I was remembering recently that two people got proposed to. There was an onstage proposal at an As It Is show, and that's one of those bucket list things. You have no control over those, but if you're lucky enough to experience that, yeah, and I can't believe I hadn't remembered that until recently. I remembered this actually re-listening to the episode that you did with Ian Coulson, who was our, photographer, touring photographer, and did music videos for As It Is. And the thing that made touring with Ian so fun for me is that I put on a really similar show most nights. Like there are some bands and artists where my favorite thing about them is their spontaneity. Like you're never going to see the same show twice. For me, and how sort of nervous I'd get about messing up, I did a really similar show, like in terms of, commands to the crowd, what I would say, moments sort of jumping over Ben, jumping off of the drum kit, and like mic throws and stuff. And Ian knew those just as well as I did, and we got to sort of like make moments out of that, and we got some great photos and videos because of that. He knew what was going to happen, with me at least, in every moment of the set. But because of that, there were fans who would sort of know what I was going to say outside of the songs, like about jumping, clapping, whatever. There was, we have a song called Soap, which was on our second record, Okay, where I would like collapse to the ground in a moment. Everybody, like, it just became this real sort of interactive thing in a way that I never thought I'd get to like experience. And like, there was like this call and response thing, but it was like almost heckling. And it was like that was like really cool. And I found myself like really missing that and feeling really like appreciative that I got to sort of experience that. It's reminded me during the Soap drop, because we were talking, I'm listening to you, Ruby, on my like in-ear monitors and stuff. There was one day, because I performed with one ear out a lot of the time, and it was sort of like hanging down either inside or outside of my shirt, but like against my back. And I did the Soap drop. No, it was definitely inside my shirt. And then I fell on the in-ear monitor and shattered my left one, and there were just shards of plastic like all in my back and stuff. And it was a really stupid and expensive thing to do because I had to buy another pair. So I remembered that out of nowhere too, and laughed about that the other day. But yeah, gosh, other sort of like live moments and stuff. Ben and I were reminiscing about when we played Italy a few times, and the Italian fans used to sing a lot of the guitar parts. So it was almost like your music had become football chants. So like when we played dial tones, they go like da 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 da, and it was like, okay, cool, this is interesting and different. That always made it fun
The
playing that
next
over there.
side project is just As It Is FC, but like
Yeah.
you're firmly based in Italy.
Yes. Yes.
Every single song is a terrorist chant.
Yeah.
Um, wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
Obviously, it is Slam Dunk, and there is a relationship and a history with As It Is and Slam Dunk. I think as you were sort of coming back and announcing it, you were all you applied to play it for 1 year and didn't manage to get it.
Yeah,
But
that's
now you're
right.
sort of practically, a residency band, and I think I've seen you something like 4 or 5 times, I think, at Slam Dunk in the short while.
Yeah.
Like what is that sort of connection with Slam Dunk, and why is Slam Dunk? Slam Dunk's grown from strength to strength. Since it was just a sort of record label based in Leeds, what's worked with Slam Dunk?
That's so cool. I didn't know that the record label was based in Leeds. That's cool because we've been releasing A Decade Uneventful and Never Happy X through Slam Dunk Records. So that's real cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that's where they were
They might not
based.
still be there, but
But that's where it all kicked off. Okay, cool. We've been going to Slam Dunk as people before the band was formed. We were just a fan. It's no surprise to learn for anybody of all the bands that played Slam Dunk. I think the first one that I went to was either 2010 or 2011, would have gone in 2012 as well. And then 2013 was the year that we were part of this sort of like social media competition to get your fans to vote for you. And the band with the most votes would play in our category and in a few other categories because there was still there were like 4 or 5 slam dunks. I think there was a Scotland one and there was still a Midlands one and stuff like that. There were bands like buying votes and like cheating the competition and stuff. And we were in it with Rome as well, who weren't doing that, but they said stop voting for us and vote for As It Is, who are a band who are not cheating and would be winning if it weren't for this other band. And then neither of us got picked, and Slam Dunk picked somebody neutral who wasn't like creating a big fucking mess, which I totally get and think was a good call. And then 2014 was a year where we also almost played Slam Dunk because we were going just as fans. And we turned up with no gear because we were going as fans. And then our manager said that morning that one of his bands got in a fist fight with each other that morning and then weren't going to be playing their slot, which was on the metal stage at some point. Do you, As It Is, want to play the metal stage with no gear? And we were like, no, we'll just wait until we have like our gear and better songs and stuff and when we're actually ready for this. And then in 2015, we finally got to play Slam Dunk for the first time, and that was incredibly special. We opened the stage, and we've since headlined that stage. But yeah, when we play it this year, it'll be, yeah, 10 years, not since just have Never Happy Ever After, but 10 years since we first played Slam Dunk. And it's such a special festival for us. You know, a band, we've played so many festivals around the world. Warped Tour is special, Download is special, Reading and Leeds is special, but like Slam Dunk is just like coming home. It was the one that we went to the most sort of in and outside of plan in the band. So real excited. And there's some incredible bands playing in this year that I'm very excited to be seeing. So yeah, hugely looking forward to it.
Now, we started this off and you mentioned that there was a sort of Mandela effect. I've
Mandela.
done the thing. There's that effect of appearing on the podcast before when you haven't.
Yes. Yes.
Something I did want to like make a mention of is I have interviewed before, but it was one of those as it is interviewed by fans things that Kerrang did several years ago.
Incredible. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on a music journalism course at the time. So, all of my friends were like, oh, wow, you're going to do a music journalism thing at a music venue with bands and stuff. And I had two questions asked, and one of them was very sort of like music journo based, how was your recording experience of OK?
Right.
Like very sort, and there was a sort of, the sort of questions that you've answered almost essentially in this podcast.
Right.
The question that was printed was not that question. It was, do you think we'll see the
Incredible.
second coming of pop punk?
Right.
And I think we have seen the question. I think we have seen the second coming of it.
Right.
But
Cool.
it just I went back to uni like the next week, and it's just like, hey, I'm in Kerrang, and I'm asking the most fangirl question I think
Right.
possible.
Yeah. Don't know who asked that, but apparently it was me. Okay. That's super funny. Right. Okay. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. I'd completely forgotten about that.
I'll never forgive Jennifer Walker for that.
Did,
You know,
did you,
brilliant
did you
music,
dirty?
brilliant music journal, and I think the industry is lacking her influence. But so I'm going to move on to a sort of quick fire round that I've got. A lot of it's kind of like A or B, but there's a few more open-ended ones. So we'll get started. Physical or digital media?
Yeah. Merits to both. And I'm not like a vinyl or a CD person, loyalist or whatever. But I will say physical media regardless, purely because, and I know it's still like a digital format. It's not physical media, but like CDs are digital, right? I over Christmas bought a secondhand iPod. Um, and have been walking around with like 20 something albums on it or whatever, just on shuffle. And I leave it playing, and it's sort of like Patty Walters radio. It's just like 20 records that I fucking loved that were like still on a hard drive that I hadn't had like looked at or listened to in like my iTunes and forever and stuff. And I got it to be having more sort of like offline listening experiences and stuff. And I did that because like the political landscape and the world fucking sucked ass so much. And I was like, I don't need and want to be looking at my phone more. But I also really, and I didn't predict this, was just like it's made me like listen to music differently. Like I'm less often like searching for other things to interrupt this song and put something else on or to skip this one. And sometimes if I'm like, okay, I listened to this one not all that long ago, I'm like, okay, well maybe I can like notice something like new that I haven't noticed in the mix or the production or whatever. And I've really, really enjoyed it. Like just having more offline, fewer like smartphone experiences and stuff. And I'm gonna like add some more like albums onto it and stuff. But I feel like I know that like it's still like a digital experience or whatever, but like not being connected to like Wi-Fi or data and not being able to access every song in the world, I feel like it still counts. And it's like really special right now. I'm really digging it. And I'm sure I've seen Never Happy on an iPod before, but I don't think I ever had it on like one of my iPods from 10 years ago. So it's like I have it on there. I'm like, okay, it's really cool to like see the artwork, like, like Down or Feeling This by Blink plays and then Cheap Shots is playing. I'm like, wow, this is pretty nuts and
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't knock the lengths to have that sort of like in uninterrupted music experience. It's
Yeah.
something I always really appreciate with like particularly when I've been listening to like an album for the first time, I'll try and turn everything off, and
Right.
just listen to it. Maybe I'll even like put on the sort of Windows Media Player-esque like
Oh my gosh.
screen where
Yeah,
it just
that shit was so cool. I
yeah.
was crazy about that. Yeah.
Like when I found out that Apple Music had something that did that, I was just kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, that's my second screen content now. It's just music with pretty visuals.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
those were amazing. I was crazy about those. Yeah.
Go to comfort food.
Go-to comfort food is instant noodles. I really like instant noodles. I really like pot noodle. I could eat two, sometimes three of them in an evening. And I still like and consume energy drinks more than I should. So combining those, that's comfort. That's perfect.
Yeah, there is a sort of weird disconnect of the fact there isn't just a Monster Energy can like on the desk behind you, just from
Yeah, right.
viewing experience.
Yeah, 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 yeah. If it looks wrong, feels wrong.
Yeah. MIDI instruments or real instruments?
It is real instruments, currently, recently, and probably for the rest of time. Like I use and like a lot of MIDI instruments and things, but the reason I've stopped using them as often as I can is actually because you get so like lost in like the granular stuff and you tweak a sound so much that sometimes to just like play it yourself, like even if it's just like one of these like keyboards that I have, like the Micro Freak or the Micro Korg or whatever, it's just quicker, it's just faster, and I move on to like something real. I actually finish songs instead of just like playing with one fucking sound for so long that's like in a mix. It's not even like it's like anybody's gonna notice or care. But these days I'm also listening to more just sort of like acoustic and real instruments anyway. So real instruments for sure.
Northern or Southern shows?
Oh shit. Oh my God. So this is so not fair. The thing is, London is the only exception. London is the southern show that's making this tricky because all of the northern shows are so consistently so much better, but we have played our biggest headline shows like in London, and that's what's making it really difficult for me to like separate this or whatever. But like when we're like way up north, the crowds are better and they are more fun, and we have more fun because we just like feed off that energy or whatever. So I will say northern shows, because there's like only one exception, but like every show up north is fun in a way that down south there is no guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll accept that as an answer.
Thank you very much. I
With the London
appreciate your
exception.
kindness.
What's your go-to record?
Wow. My go-to record. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So like I said, like I was sort of stepping away from music and I had more normie experiences. And I was in a room with people. It was like some training. And there was like this seemingly simple icebreaker, which is cool, like what's your name? And what's one album that you would listen to for the rest of your life and only that one record? And I was like, you cannot fucking ask me that question. I'm gonna think about this forever. Forever. And one person I was with didn't put an album. They just said Ed Sheeran with his name spelt wrong. And I'm like, it's not fair that this person doesn't have to think about this forever now, because this, like, I think about this so often. But the answer I gave, I don't regret, and I think it's pretty true to me, is Give Up by the Postal Service. Is one of my favorite records, has some of my favorite lyrics, is fairly dynamic between sort of like acoustic and digital instruments and stuff. And I haven't regretted saying that. So I'm going to say that that is my go-to record.
Your go-to record. And then recommend a song for someone listening.
So I was listening on a run today to a podcast. I believe it was called Sad Song Queens. And they had on one of two members from one of my favorite bands called the Weepies. And they wrote what is my favorite song of all time, which is The World Spins Madly On. It's a beautiful, beautiful, sad acoustic song. And if you're listening and you haven't heard it, it is perfect. It's like the closest thing to a perfect song, in my opinion. So if you haven't already heard it, I think you'll dig it. You may have heard it. It's been synced in so many movies and TV shows over the years, like One Tree Hill and Scrubs, perhaps. But yeah, it's a beautiful song. Yeah, check it out.
Whilst I've got you, is there anything else you'd like to plug at this point?
Gosh, so yeah, Never Happy Ever After X is coming out in April. We've already released Dial Tones featuring Lucas of Holding Absence. And tonight at midnight, we're releasing Sorry featuring Michaela from Yours Truly. More singles to come. And then, yeah, the record's out. I think it's the 18th of April. And then we are playing Slam Dunk in late May. And I am not somebody who is on social media, but I hear that we are on TikTok and Instagram and all of those delightful places. If we're not, Ben has just been filming me, making me say silly shit and not posting it anywhere. But I do actually know for a fact that I've seen it on TikTok, because the way that I go on TikTok is I go to this laptop and I type tiktok.com/@ as it is official, and I see what he's been posting. So you can find us there. And Ben is like really active and on it in a way that I am not. But yeah, check out Never Happy X. Really proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you once again for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, and now it's been a pleasure to be on the show. So yeah, anytime. Yeah, hope the listeners have enjoyed it and liked it and stuff.
You're listening to Fresh from the Scene with Ruby Price.
Thank you very much for listening. If you did enjoy that, please take just a few minutes to share this episode on social media, leave a comment, leave a review, and all that jazz. If you want to follow me on socials, you can find me at Ruby Rose Price on Instagram and Threads, or over on Blue Sky, where I am at Rubes, RUUBEZ. Thank you once again to Patty Walters, As It Is, and management for making this happen. I've had Patty and As It Is on my dream guest list since before I even launched Fresh from the Scene back in 2019, and even then, I did not think I would actually one day manage it, so thank you. Foley, it's got to be done now. I need that fourth As It Is Infinity Stone. If you're interested in coming on, do get in touch, and if you know someone who may be interested in coming on, tag them and let's make it happen. Lots more to come in 2025, I promise you that. So finally, thank you once again for listening, and I shall see you next time. Adios. Bye.